But Dylan was recently named to the Canadian national men's futsal team and competed in a couple games in Costa Rica. And he's also played university soccer for 5 years. So he has lots to say about that as well. Yeah. So we'll continue our questions and you guys can just jump in whenever you feel like it. So go ahead, Seth.
What do you think is the most important thing that universities look for in young players?
I don't know, I'd say the desire to want to play, because a lot of the times when you're coming in as a first year, as a rookie, the players are able to, I don't know, in the sense make it or break it, that if you want to be there, you're going to have the desire, you're going to work hard every single day. You may not be able to play in your first year, you might be a red shirt, but making sure that you just want to be there and you work as hard as you can to be able to play either the next game or for the next year. You're always training hard. So I just think coaches do look at people who are able to be energetic and want to be there every single day is probably the most beneficial thing.
I would say your attitude, like he's kind of alluding to here, you have to be coachable. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're not the best player there, but when the coach speaks, he wants to make sure that you listen. He wants to know that he can progress you over 5 years. On top of that, I would say academics. Okay, school is important. Your grades are important. If you don't have good grades, yes, you can get in. I don't know, where'd you go to the university? UC. And it's pretty high. I actually applied to UC, but my average wasn't high enough. For business, it was 82%. I think my average was 78. So I couldn't get in based on academics. Now, if you're a good enough player, the coach will pull some strings and get you in based on your skill. But if your grades are good enough and you're competing, let's say him and I are competing for the same spot, and his grades are better than mine, then it's easier for the school to take him because the coach may have to give more scholarship money to me because my grades are lower. So your grades are very important. Be coachable, and like he's saying, over those 5 years, that first year you might be a redshirt. That means you don't play at all. You don't play a single minute. But what is your attitude in that situation?
All right. Who hasn't asked a question yet?
I'm Nadia, and if you guys weren't playing soccer, what would you guys be doing? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a very athletic guy. I just love going outside. When I was growing up, I tried playing every single sport. I was riding my bike, playing road hockey with my buddies, and then I love playing tennis and skiing and stuff. But if I wasn't playing soccer, I'd probably pick up on another sport and just stay athletic. I think that's one of the biggest things that I did when I was growing up.
Just in business in general. What I do is soccer, but it's also business. So a big thing that I teach people is soccer is great, but I'm sure you would agree with this. Most of the connections you have in life, your closest friends, all these people come through soccer, right? So if we didn't play these sports, I wouldn't know Chris, I wouldn't be right here if I didn't know these people. So whether you play soccer, you play basketball, whatever you do, the biggest thing is how you communicate with people, the connections that you make, and those things that last or that prolong into your adult years when it really matters can hook you up in the future.
Yeah, adding on to that, it's you're not going to be able to play your one sport all the way until you're 70. You're going to end up stopping at some point to retire. You're not going to be able to handle it. So if you retire at, say, 35, what are you going to do with the rest of your time? So the connections you do build through your teammates and then even their parents are able to help you out. They run businesses. You're able to get jobs through that. So I think just the relationships you build through soccer or sport itself, even just friends in school, could go a long way in the future because you could look and help each other out in the future to get good jobs.
So both Dylan and Dominic have university degrees, right?
Yeah.
So they both have university degrees, and both in business. I think you're accounting.
Yeah.
Accountant, and it's in business as well. So, so they use soccer, right, to be part of obtaining a university education. Next question.
Any question, mate?
Yeah. So there was these. I go to this Whitecaps tournament every year or something, 2 years maybe. I'm not sure, but at it, are you playing in the games, or are you on this, or because when we go watch one of the Whitecaps games. So are you usually playing, or are you usually on the bench?
I wasn't really a starter. No, I was one of the guys who was not fortunate enough to be able to get that starting spot. And then since I was signed for a USL contract, not an MLS contract, so that really threw me off with all the MLS guys coming down and taking my spot over. So I really didn't get that many pro games under my belt, but my whole attitude through it was might as well just keep going and see if things can come from this. So even though I wasn't able to play much, I just thought I got to keep playing hard and just make sure I can get the chance. Who knows who else is looking at me, and I can't just burn bridges by having my attitude down and in the gutter versus just having a positive attitude. Being fortunate enough to play with some quality players, because that's always gonna build you as a person and as a player in the future.
So maybe Dylan, could you share your path to the national futsal team? Because it's quite unique, right? So
very
Dylan,
unique.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let me just gauge, like, how many of you guys are actually soccer players?
You're essentially Billy
Just
Borger if you were
He's the
to
swimmer.
the office for a message. Billy Borger to the office for a message.
And how many of you guys are trying to make it, like, you got dreams? You want to play pro? You want to go to college? Whatever, half of you? Okay. Cool. No, this is good. So it's good to know. And if you don't want to be a pro, that's not a bad thing. If you don't want to play at a high level, that's not a bad thing. If you just want to play the game and love the game, that's important. I think what's unique about my story is I kind of gave up. I just didn't realize that it was possible when I was growing up. How old are you? 23. So I'm 30 now. Okay, when I was growing up, we were basically, like, Chris was coaching us, or our group of players. Like, we didn't see many people become professionals. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that we thought was possible. So we just thought, that's not going to happen. If I'm not playing for Manchester United when I'm 16, it's never going to happen. So we just gave up. And I kind of faded out of soccer. Not that I was in soccer always, but my ambition and my desire and my hunger for soccer kind of faded. And then it got to a point where it was like, hey, like, why am I doing this? And it wasn't enjoyable to me. But when I started just to look at myself and say, okay, if I'm going to play this, I'm going to be the best that I can possibly be. So every day I become better. Every day I work to improve, regardless of whether I'm trying to be a pro or not. So if you guys just want to play in Calgary and you want to dominate Calgary, or you want to go and try to do what he's doing, try to play for Whitecaps, get into the MLS, okay, you need to have the same mentality. Now, I just got picked up to play for the Canadian national futsal team, and that was never a goal of mine. The reason that happened is just because I was on my grind every day. I was just becoming better every day, and someone noticed me, and someone gave me a chance, and I just took that opportunity. But if I just coasted through soccer saying, you know what, I didn't become a pro, nothing worked out for me, I'm just going to play whatever, then these things never would have happened. But because I was playing and just constantly trying to improve myself as a player, good things came of it. So, like he's saying, if his attitude was poor when he was on the bench, or when he was just in training and he just said, oh, you know what, I'm not getting playing, so I'm not going to work, maybe a different coach wouldn't see him and give him an opportunity. So your attitude is so huge, and my story is just a beautiful picture of that. Okay? If you work hard and you continue, when you're 30, you can still get an opportunity. Is that kind of where you were asking?
Yeah, exactly. Because Dylan, most players who represent Canada are selected at a much earlier age.
And honestly, I wasn't good enough when I was that age, but I never had a real look when I was that age. So most players in that situation would be like, I've never played for Canada when I was 16, then I'll never again. And honestly, I never thought I would. But this is the beauty of being at your best, and someone sees you and they'll give you an opportunity.
Yeah. And another thing I find interesting about Dylan's story, guys, is that you play mostly as an amateur.
Yeah.
But to me, you train and you live like a professional.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, like, basically my business is being a professional athlete to a certain degree, and not to take anything away from you or like people who are in a similar situation than you, like guys that we play with who are pro or semi-pro. In reality, and I'm not being cocky, I am more of a professional than them based on salary, based on the amount of money I make, because, and I'm not telling you guys to go after chase money, that's the only thing that's important, that's not what I'm alluding to here. But because I work so hard and I turn my business into soccer, I made my business soccer. People always say follow your passions in life and you'll never work a day in your life, something like that. okay? But my business is soccer, so I just said, hey, if I'm going to do this, then I have to be the best I can possibly be, because what I do is I give training tutorials and I give education to players like you guys who want to become better, teach you how to improve your skills, your mentality, your physical fitness, what steps to take in order to make it in certain ways. But if I wasn't doing that myself, if I wasn't actually practicing what I preach, then how could I sell myself as a product? Okay, so what I do is I basically wake up and I say, okay, how can I become the best player that I can possibly be? So that goes as far as your nutrition, how well you sleep, your training habits, training multiple times a day, training in different ways, how you study the game, how you analyze your own performances, how you can pick up off other players, and just how you can become better in every single way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's it. Next question, guys. Someone we haven't heard from. Introduce yourself.
I'm Chad. What's the worst injury you've ever done?
I'm a knock on wood. I've never really had like a brutal injury. I'd say the worst one I had was when I was 14. I blocked the shot and like twisted my wrist and maybe sprained it for like 2 weeks. So I've been pretty fortunate enough. So I'm gonna hopefully keep it that way through the rest of my career.
This guy's a central defender too. Dylan?
Yeah, definitely knock on wood for you. I mean, for myself, I had a quad tear, so I tore my quad, which was recently, it's about 2 years ago. But tore the muscle right here, so I was out for about a year. And that sucks. 2 things I'll say on injuries. Number one, like he's saying, knock on wood, it's all about luck. It's not about luck. I'm going to assume you don't get injured because you're physically strong, you take care of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, luck does come into it, but we also know guys who are injured all the time, and they continue to get injured because they don't take care of themselves, yes? Okay, so like how strong you are, your mobility, your flexibility, your total body strength, that, and the way you warm up, the way you cool down, the way you take care of your body, this all goes into being injured. And then the second thing I would say about injuries is, are you injured right now? Is that why you're asking the question? Okay. You just wanted to hear that we snapped our legs? The second thing about injuries is, because injuries will happen, it's like, how do you mentally get through injuries? Because a lot of guys will get injuries and that'll be the end of them. Whether they want to admit it or not, like, just mentally it will defeat them. They'll be so depressed and they'll just like pretty much give up on soccer, give up on life. You have to be extremely mentally strong in that situation. You have to use it as motivation to come back even better.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. It's just your rehab is massive. If you really focus on it and want to get back, you want to build that muscle or whatever your injury was, you want to come back stronger than it was before, so things like that don't happen again. And I'm sure you guys heard of like the snowboarder Mark McMorris. So that guy snapped his leg and all this, but his rehab is huge because his main goal is to come back and compete in the Olympics. So that's a pretty good story to look at him and how he wants to come back. Doesn't matter what sport you're in, it's all the same process. If you're injured, how you come back, go through all the steps of your rehab to come back stronger in whatever sport it is you play.
Yeah. And Dylan, I remember you shared the story. You were kind of mad at yourself when you got injured because you're playing in a tournament and you couldn't find the field.
Yeah,
and you normally do a very strict warm-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then,
You want me to tell that?
yeah, sure.
Okay. So yeah, getting injured is like extremely taking good care of your body. You guys are young right now, so I'm assuming you go to your practice or your game, you just get out there and start blasting balls as hard as you can. When you get older and you do that, you risk injury massively. So usually I would have a very disciplined warm-up, take care of my body, make sure that everything is ready to go before I start kicking balls hard, sprinting very fast, or just like competing in the real heat of a game. But this one, we were just playing in a tournament. I was there like 30 minutes early. I thought I was at the right field, and then suddenly no one's showing up. MapQuest, what is going on here? And apparently I was at the wrong place, so I drove all around the city, finally ended up at the field right at kickoff, and the guy who runs the team was like, hey, can you play? Can you start? And I wanted to play, obviously, so I was like, yeah, I'll start. Tried to do a few little warm-ups, but the game was on, and then I hit a shot within like the first 2 minutes of the game, and I just felt my quad tear. I continued to play for a little bit, but I felt something was wrong, and like 5 minutes later I came off, and that ended up being out for a year. Okay, because I didn't do my warm up properly. So when you're young, you think you can get away with everything. I think until you can to a degree. And even when you get older, you still think once you have that first bad injury, that's when you smarten up. So if you guys don't want to get injured, then just really take care of your body from a young age.
There's a former captain of the men's national team, Julian de Guzman. He played till he was about 36 or 37. And I remember he shared that his last year as a professional, his training session was usually 90 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. And his pre-warm-up was an hour. So he would pre-warm up for an hour before the practice, and his cool-down was close to an hour. So it would take him twice. He would basically put in twice the amount of time as everyone else, because that's what his body requires. Go ahead, Nick.
What did you do to recover from your injuries? Because I've been having trouble. I've been having liver tightness in my knees and my calf. And I tore my Achilles not too long ago. So I was wondering what you did exactly to recover from that.
Physio, like he's saying, rehab, physio is huge. I would say before that, it starts with your nutrition and your sleep. Like if you're not getting good food into your body, you guys may have heard of the macronutrients, protein, carbs, and like all this stuff. Your body needs good food. So if you're injured and you're just eating junk, you're eating chips and cookies, then your body is taking that food, that crappy food, and it's turning it into your muscles and your cells. So you're actually made up. If you've ever heard the term you are what you eat, it's extremely true. Your body takes the food that you eat, so whether that's cookies and junk food, and it turns it into your muscles. So if your quad is made out of cheeseburgers and tortilla or Doritos, then is that going to break compared to mine's made out of brown rice and broccoli? You know what I mean? It's strong. So it starts with nutrition and your sleep, how much you sleep. But the physio is huge. I did electrotherapy. So do you know what that is?
Yeah,
you may have done it yourself.
Yeah.
So electrotherapy, they'll put it on there and it just like kind of tenses up the muscles, because when you get injured, like your muscles will kind of stop working. Your brain, the muscle connection stops, so that like trains them to work again. Then I just did like vibration, rest. Rest is really the biggest thing, and then slowly working into it. But if you try to come back too quickly, you're just going to do it again. So yes, it sucks sitting out and not being able to play, but you really have to listen to your body. So once if you are injured, you're coming back, just do little things. Listen to yourself. How do I feel? If you feel tight, if you feel tense, then you have to lay off it a bit. Is that just your Achilles is tight or everywhere?
Achilles, I tore my Achilles, my groin, mostly everywhere.
You tore everything?
Well, not tore everything, but some
It's
stuff.
sore? Okay, so if it's just soreness and tightness, I would say it's more of a, like obviously you're growing, you're going through puberty, or yes, puberty.
Yeah.
I haven't said that word in a while. You're growing, so your body will have like natural aches and pains that are different from ours. But whenever I'm tight, like I really focus on my recovery as far as stretching, rolling out, vibration, things like these, proper warm up, mobility. Okay, can you touch your toes? Okay. Like how old are you? 12?
12, yeah.
Okay, I can touch my toes. I'm 30. You don't have
that.
But honestly, I think that's huge. I think if your flexibility is not there, your mobility is not there, you risk injury.
Yeah.
And it's just about doing it. Okay, so it takes discipline to do the stretches, but you can either do the stretches or you can be injured and be sore all the time. So you weigh it out for yourself.
So do you recommend acupuncture at this age?
I don't know about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with acupuncture. Firstly, I've never had it done. I know it is good. Why are you doing acupuncture?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. I couldn't give you the best answer on that. If you think it helps, I would go with it. If you don't think it helps, like be honest with yourself. That's a skill you'll have to learn with getting older, is listening to your body, like how your body responds. It's tough to do that when you're 12 years old. You just think everything's okay all the time. But just be aware of yourself. Like you had the acupuncture, now you're playing the next day. How do I feel? Is it any different? You know what I mean? Something like that. And then try to react accordingly. Does it help?
Yeah, and then like I also tape it up a little during the game. So.
Yeah, cool.
For like youth ages to like U18, what are coaches looking for the most in a player?
I think that's the same thing when we're going to like what university coaches look at. If you're coachable, like TB was saying, and I don't know, I'd say all the developmental skills of being able to do proper turns and cuts with the ball, your technique with the ball. It's just if you're able to have a higher step if you want to go to Division 1 teams, or if you're wanting to like look and become the best player you can be versus just going recreational and just trying to kick the ball around with some of your friends. So I think just like the skill level you build and how many touches you do versus someone else, like practice your skills. I think coaches look at your technical ability and if you're coachable at the higher divisions and as well when you're growing up, things like that.
I would say like your ability to make an impact on the game, your ability to stand out. Now that could be different and it should be different for every position. He's a center back, I'm more of an attacker. So he needs to stand out in his specific way. What position do you play?
Midfield.
Midfield, okay? So you're a midfielder, you need to stand out as far as, like he's saying, your technical skills on the ball. Do you give the ball away every time, or do you keep possession? Are you nice and tidy on the ball? Are you able to create things? Can you play through balls? Can you play balls over the top? Can you make assists? Can you score goals for your team? For him, he's a center back. He has to win headers. He has to make tackles. Nobody gets past him. He's clearing balls off the line. He's making slide tackles. He is communicating. He's organizing his team. So it's different for every position, but I would say you have to stand out. Okay, so whether that is keeping clean sheets or scoring goals, that's usually what it comes down to. Stand out. Stand out also in, like, let's be honest, like speed it makes you stand out, yes? Okay, speed makes you stand out, technical skill, if you can beat a player and play a nice pass, if you can score goals, you're going to stand out. The easiest thing you can do to stand out right away is like communicate, especially at a young age because kids are so quiet. If you're out there and you're saying, hey, you come here, you go there, yes, give me the ball, like you're talking right away, you catch the coach's attention because every other kid is just watching the ball.
And wait for the ball to come and then head down when they get the ball and try to do it themselves. But if you're able to be a team player, that's massive.
I would add it for a coach, you're looking for players who are competitive. And competitive just doesn't mean you want to win when there's a game happening. It means that you're competitive about getting better. So you use every training session as an event to get better. You arrive at training ready, prepared to play, right? And you work hard and you concentrate during training. I think that's a big thing is that when your coaches do drills with you, that you're asking yourself, okay, what am I being asked to do here? What skill am I working on? What's the outcome I want, right? What do I want to get from this drill? And you really focus. I think that's a big thing, especially at your age, is focusing during training, right? Thinking about why you're there. Why am I being asked to do this? How is this going to help me?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and now like focus is huge, and just your attitude. And let's say we're giving a session right now. Like I can tell right now that you're gonna get more out of this, and you're gonna get more out of this, and maybe you. Just the focus in you guys. When we're speaking, you guys are watching. When not to call you guys out, but I'm just saying these guys are more engaged. Okay, they're looking to get more out of this. So if you take that into your training session and the coach is talking to you or the coach is doing a drill and you're listening and you're saying yes and everyone else is messing around, joking around with their buddies, and the coach has to tell them 5 times, hey, listen, and hey, do it this way, not that way. And you pick up on it right away, or you're really engaged when I'm talking, that's huge. Coaches like that right away. It's not being a suck-up. It's nothing like that. It's just being focused, getting the most out of the situation.
How did you train yourself to become one of those top kind of players on a team or something like that?
Did you train? Or you
What did you do outside of what your team was doing?
Like I said earlier, I was super athletic, so I thought even when I got home, I didn't just want to sit on my couch and game. I honestly am a terrible gamer. I'm brutal at that, so I'd rather just go outside. Even if none of my friends were available, I would just juggle the ball in my backyard. I would set up like 2 cones or not. I would just try getting more touches on the ball. And once I was able to see it growing up, how my touch and my skill was maybe a step up from some other players, at that point I realized, okay, this is actually beneficial to what I want to achieve to become the best player I can be. So then that motivated me to go home and keep doing that. versus when I hear other people at my training sessions say, oh, like, what's your kill streak on Call of Duty or whatever it was, or I'm better at FIFA than you are. I knew I was brutal at FIFA, so I'd rather say I'm a better soccer player than a better video game player than others. So I just thought maybe soccer isn't just the one thing I was working on. Even when I was in school, when I was in gym class, I'm not the best hockey player, but when it came to road hockey, I was so competitive. I still wanted to learn to be one of the better players in just road hockey. Or in basketball, I wanted to go and join the junior high, like the basketball team, the senior team, and then in high school, I wanted to play volleyball with all my friends. So I thought I was fairly good at most sports, and I think that benefited me in becoming a better soccer player. Like in volleyball, you have to jump high enough to spike the ball down. That helped me with my vertical and heading the ball and stuff. So in every sport, I wanted to become the best. Even though I knew I wasn't, I wanted to strive and become better and look at those people who were better in certain sports. So I just thought, whatever sport you're doing, whatever you're doing outside of just soccer, try to be the best at that. Because in the end, that will all kind of join together and help you in your one main sport to become the best at that.
So what he's kind of saying here is like an obsession with progression, with development, right? Like a lot of players, and you may be in this situation yourself, you go to practice and then you come home, like soccer's done. You know, you don't think about it anymore, and there's nothing until the next practice, which is in a week. And if you're doing that, you just go into your practice. You might even play well in practice. You might even work really hard, but you just forget about it. And then you come back like a week later. If you're training like that, you're never going to get to the level that you want. So it's that obsession. You come home and you think about the practice. You're like, oh, I screwed up this in this situation. I missed that chance. Like, what can I do differently to improve? For myself, and even when I was youth, like I was a top level player, but I wasn't the type of player who could like just win a game by himself. And I always wanted to be that type of player. So for myself, I just pretty much looked at myself. I was brutally honest, and I was like, okay, what are your weaknesses? What do you have to improve? And what do you need to start working on when everyone else is playing video games or going to parties? And we're not saying that you guys can never do those things. In fact, you should do those things at certain points, but have you actually earned the right to do those things? But for myself, it's like looking at myself, okay, you're slow, you're out of shape, you're bad at shooting. Be really honest with yourself. And it's not being hard on yourself, it's being critical with the intention of improving it, okay? So I know I was slow, I know my fitness wasn't there, I know my shooting wasn't good enough. So then every day I was doing something, and it didn't have to be like a 5-hour training session, it was just little things, but every single day doing those little things until eventually those weaknesses were gone. And now those weaknesses are strengths. Now I'm one of the fittest, now my shooting is one of the best, okay? But at one point they were the worst. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would say look at yourself, be honest with yourself, like what are you really struggling with, and what do you need to personally work on? Because what I need to work on is different than what you need to work on. And then just try to do little things. Maybe your touches, or your juggling is bad, like ball control's bad, maybe just juggle to 100 every morning, something like that. Simple. Make sense?
Yeah.
Liam?
How often do you practice?
Right now, I'm training 6 times a week, so I just get, like Wednesdays are kind of to myself, but I still try going to the gym and stuff, and Sundays is really just my day off to relax, but I'm training quite a bit.
You guys are training PDL right now?
Yeah,
Every
day.
Every morning?
Yeah, from like 9:30 to 12:30 kind of thing.
So myself, I train, my situation's a little different. Like if I was a bit younger and I was trying to do what he was doing, then I would be in the same situation as him, training 6 days a week. For me, I have my own family. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I have a business that I'm running. So mine's a little different. I can't be at it every time that I want to. Luckily, I'm my own boss. I'm on my own schedule, so I do my own things. But I train. So I'll tell you, I train 4 times a day. Now, you may hear that, you may think, whoa, that's like way too much. But it's little things, okay? So in the morning, first thing in the morning, I wake up and I train. It might just be like 30 minutes of little things, strength, mobility, juggling, little footwork stuff. Then later in the day, I'll go to the gym and I'll do some fitness stuff and some strength stuff, maybe a little bit of just bodybuilding. But some fitness stuff in the gym. Then later in the day, I would usually have my soccer. So I'm just playing games usually. I play in like 3 different leagues, so I usually just play games. And I train with the U20s.
Yeah.
So I have 1 practice a week and 3 games a week. And then I would do at night before bed, I do like some stretches and a little more strength, some core stuff like that. So although I'm not playing soccer or going to practices every single day, I'm on my own and I'm training every single day, more than most people do in a whole week. Make sense? Does that help?
Yeah.
You're a swimmer?
Yeah.
Very high level swimmer.
Cool. So I'm sure you train with you practice with your team?
Yeah, 7 times a week.
7 times a week, every day after school?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, and twice on Wednesday.
Uh-huh. So if you're like, that's a lot. That's a lot. But that's what it takes, right?
Yeah, if you want to make it to the top, you got to put in the work. That's good.
Liam, you had the fastest time in Western Canada this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's just because he's so tall.
Yeah, he's a good touch.
Feet like paddles. That's nice.
The thing is, like, you train 7 days a week, but if you, I don't know, you want to be the next Michael Phelps or what? The Canadian Michael Phelps? If that's what you want, then you look forward to those 7 days. It's not like, oh man, I have to practice again. It's like, yes, I get to practice again. You know what I mean? That's your mentality.
Cool. Next question? I know there's more questions out there. David?
I don't have a question.
Okay. Jamie, what's another question on your list?
What's the most fun part of playing university soccer?
Well, that's a good one. I think when, like for CIS, I guess it's U Sports now, Canadian University League. I think because you play games back-to-back Saturday, Sundays, even though it might not be the best because you're sore on Sundays, because you just had a game the day before. I think you should play so much soccer, and it's so much fun to go out there and be able to play. And back-to-back games, you always want to play games. So I think all the time you put in throughout the week to just have one weekend to just show all the skills you've learned throughout the week and be able to compete with all your teammates. I think, at least for myself, I enjoyed playing back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. Like for a lot of players, that'll be the highest level you ever play at. So enjoying that, and some players would be scared of that situation when they go and play on the weekends. They're scared rather than excited. So it is fun. If you have the right mentality, it's definitely fun, and that's the mentality you want to have. It's fun to play at that level. I would say a huge thing about college sports is just the camaraderie and how close you become with your teammates. Because it's totally different. You're basically living with your teammates. You might even have roommates who are on the team. You're seeing them twice a day. You're seeing them in your classes. You're seeing them after school every day. You're going on trips with them. You're traveling on a bus, on a plane. You're staying in hotels together. So you become, these are some of the best friends that you ever have. I'm sure you're still in good touch with all of them. So these people become your best friends. And then as we were saying later, these may be your business partners or your connections in the future that help you out. But getting really close to the bonding and just spending time with good people who have the same goals as you.
Next question?
What was the effect of peer pressure during college?
Just question.
I don't know. I think when I was starting off, I was fortunate enough to become a starter in my first year. So then I thought, oh man, like I have so much pressure on me. Looking at the players on the bench, they could be fourth-year players. Looking at me as a rookie who's starting, I might be starting over them as well. So I think I can't just go out there and just be scared and maybe lose it for the team. I really wanted to go into every game with a positive attitude and know that the coach puts his trust in me and has me on the field right now. So I just have to work my butt off to help the whole team out and to just improve myself as a player. And this, I think, helped me become stronger. And then all that pressure that I was feeling, I was able to turn that into good vibes to help me become a better player. And that's what helped me throughout my university career, take that pressure and kind of run with it if it's helping you out.
It's a really good question. I'll speak to it, and not necessarily about college. This could be right now, because you're probably. I know you guys are going through it because we've been through it as well. Peer pressure is huge. Peer pressure in two different ways. I'll highlight. Number one is the peer pressure of negative negative people or negative situations, whether that's people doing things they shouldn't. I know you guys are pretty young, but drugs, alcohol, like all this bad stuff that's going on. Your friends may be doing it and they're saying, hey, you should come and do this with us. Okay, that happens. You guys are still pretty young, but if it hasn't happened to you, I promise you it will happen in the future. How you respond to that situation is really important, okay? So if you want to be a pro, if you want to be top level, you have to have the ability to say no to those things and not care what other people think. Okay, so I'll say that about peer pressure, and that will happen even more in college, even more temptation in college. There's parties every single night in college. And again, we're not saying you can never go to a party. Chris has been to parties. You can, but you pick your spot, right? But if it's season, it's time to train, we don't party right now. We say no to all these negative things. Now, the other thing about peer pressure or just other people's opinions that I think is massive and I really want to tell you guys is, and that was huge for me when I was growing up, it's your friends, it's your teammates, it may even be your coaches, it's people who are your own age. You're playing soccer right now, you want to be a pro, and they're saying, no, you're never going to be a pro. Why do you even try? Like, you're such a loser. You train 7 days a week. What's wrong with you? Why don't you come out and play with us? You know what I mean? Like, that happens. You guys may have experienced that, okay? So what you have to understand, and if you can develop this skill right now, is to not care what anyone else thinks. If you want to be a pro, and other people think that's a joke, other people laugh at you, like, you can either crumble to that, and you can say, oh, these people think I'm going to fail, so that means I must fail. Or you can say, no, I'm going to prove these people wrong, and I'm going to show them. So that's the attitude you need to have. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay? So peer pressure, it happens all the time. For me, and I'm sure you told your intro story in the beginning. For me, when I was younger, and I was saying to Chris, like, we don't see a lot of pros when we were 16. This was 20 years ago. But I had it in my head because people kept telling me, hey, if you're not a pro by 16, you're never going to make it. So that was imprinted in my head. I accepted that. That wasn't their fault. That was my fault for accepting that. But if at that point I said, you know what, I'm going to prove these people wrong. I'm going to find a way to make this happen. I am good enough. Then I'm a pro.
Yeah, adding on to that, like when you were saying if I joined that ASA league or the NTC, the national training camps and stuff, I was never part of that. So then at first I thought, you know what, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to think that a professional soccer career is possible. But just like Tubi was saying, if you use that and want to prove people wrong, that was my whole mentality. I thought, you know what, I think I am good enough. Maybe this one person doesn't think I can do it, but I will prove them wrong. So I just kept training hard. And then now I can say I did make it pro, even though I didn't play on the ASA when I was 14 years old. I made it to a higher level at an older age. So just being able to prove people wrong, I think is the most satisfying feeling if people try to put you down. So
Absolutely. And use that, like I use that as motivation all the time. Honestly, it's worse when you're a kid. Right now, this age, like kids are so mean. Like I had teammates in the past that call me all types of names I won't say in your classroom, but we're just super negative, and it's so easy for someone to say, you know what, I do suck. You know, I am slow, I am fat, I am out of shape, and just accept those things. But those are their words, they're not your realities. Okay, so you have to have the strength to say no. And then also just on a very basic level, because I know you guys experience it all the time, when you're in practice and you make a mistake, and everyone's like, oh, what are you doing? You suck. Like most players will crumble in that situation. For me, if I make a mistake, it's like, okay, use these people's negative words and like give me that ball right now. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do a score, and I'm gonna make these people shut up. Okay, so that's the mentality that you have to have. Does that help? Okay.
Yeah. So, just a question for both of you: would you consider yourselves haters?
Haters?
Are you a hater?
Do I hate on other people?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Do you?
no.
Right? And the thing is, like, people who are achieving things are generally not the people who are hating on other people.
People who are achieving things, do not worry about other people.
Exactly.
I don't care what other people are saying about me because I'm just doing my own thing and it's going pretty well for me, so I'll continue to go. You know what I mean?
I think the best thing is also to be a team player. So rather than if someone made a mistake and just calling them out, I could go up to them and say, hey, next time you get that touch, instead of trying to beat 3 men, why don't you just open up, pass it to me, and we could keep the ball and move it around. So even though I'm a player, I can also try to help coach my team as well. Everyone's in it together. Our whole purpose is to win games. We're a team it's not an individual sport in our case if we're playing soccer. So helping each other out instead of just getting on their backs is probably the best move.
I'd agree with that 100%, and that's huge for me is like motivation rather than demotivation. But let's say I'm playing on your team and you make a mistake. It's so easy for me to be like, dude, what are you doing? And it happens all the time. I'm sure you had it happen to you. Yes, you made a mistake, and one of your teammates was like, oh, what? The coach is screaming at you. What are you doing? Okay, but it's so much more powerful. I make a mistake, and he comes to me and says, don't worry, you're going to get it next time. I miss a chance on net. He says, get your head up. You're going to score next time. Okay, that you need to be the type of player who lifts people up rather than put them down.
What was your biggest failure in your career?
That's a good question.
Failure.
Yeah. Or maybe biggest disappointment. Soccer disappointment.
Because you sent me a few questions, so I did just write a note on that. I would say, honestly, in life there are no failures. It depends how you look at it, right? Everything that happens to you happens for a reason. So if I failed, it was only because I wasn't ready in that situation, where I didn't know the right thing at that time. So as far as failure, I do say like not becoming a pro, but it's only because I didn't understand that it was possible at that time. Now I know now I've helped people all around the world become professional. I've done the research, I know all the steps. So if I had that information when I was that age, based on the same player I was then, I know I would have been a pro. So my regret is not trying, but at the same time, I didn't know that I could have tried. You know what I mean? So I can't say that that was a failure. My only failure now would be not encouraging you guys to take this information and to use it. For me to tell you that you are good enough and that you can make it, okay? Because no one ever told me that. So if I don't tell you that, then that would be a failure. I've been cut from teams, I've lost games, I've missed penalty shots. Okay, these are all little things. These are all things that help you become better. If I just look at those things and say, why did I fail? Then in the future that will help me succeed.
I'd say for myself, like, I could look at each different case as being worse than the other, in a sense, like not making it worse. I thought that was a huge disappointment for me. But then I got over that, and then my team had a chance to go to nationals in U14. We lost in the final. I was pretty choked. Had a chance to go in U16. We choked in the final again, and then again in U18 we made it to the finals and choked again in the final. And we lost on like a 94th minute like grinder goal, and that caused us to not go to nationals. So it was just each one I guess was a little more like heartbreaking. So those are huge disappointments. And then 2 years ago we were in the national final for PDL, and we ended up losing again to that penalty shot they gave them in the 85th minute. So obviously, I've had a lot of disappointments in my life, not being able to consider myself a champion with my teammates. But I also look at all the benefits that came from that, making to the finals of a Division I provincial 4 years in a row, and then making it to the highest game you can play in the PDL in the 1 year. I think all those disappointments helped me and helped my character build to becoming a better player and a person. Because now I'm able to say, maybe because I lost that, it opened up a door here, and this is what's caused me to become now a professional player 1 year. So there's going to be disappointments in life. It may not just be sports. It may be in school if you fail a test, maybe a diploma in the future or something like that. Just there's going to be so many disappointments, but you have to also take the positives out of that, or you still able to learn from that and just become a better person. And if it's soccer, become a better player.
One more thing about that, and he's speaking exactly to that, is you have to have the perspective. This is all about the bigger picture, okay? Because I still fail every day. I fail all the time. Some bigger than others. But you're going to lose games. You're going to get cut from teams. A coach is going to bench you. A coach is going to kick you off the team. You're going to miss penalty shots. You're going to lose championship finals. Okay, but if you're like, oh, this is the end of my life, then it will be the end of your life. Okay, it's part of the bigger picture. You have to realize that everything that happens, whether I win or I lose this game, whether I have a good practice or a bad practice, it's all part of what I want over here, whether that's being a pro or getting a college scholarship. Okay, but if you let this little failure right here like overcome you, and now you don't want to train because you're discouraged, or you don't want to get the ball because you made a mistake last time, then this thing's never happening because he can't get over this little failure right here. Does that make sense? Okay. What's that?
Is there anything you regret or regret doing something or not doing something?
Again, that's kind of what I said
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Like as far as I regret not going after the professional thing when I was at the right ages. But regrets, no. Like live without regrets. You know, if you for example, you went to a tryout or someone gave you opportunity for your White House?
I got the tryout from like Tommy talked to the coaches based on that.
So it kind of came to you.
Yeah.
But
So that was the
only because he was a good player. But let's say, for example, there is like a high school tryout or a tryout for a new team, and you don't think you're good enough. Go anyway. Okay? You will if you go and you fail and you get cut, you will not regret that. If you stay at home and you never go, you will regret that. Okay? So even if you think you're not good enough to get on the team, or the other players are better than you, or just the challenge is too much, do it anyway. Prepare the best that you possibly can. And do it anyway. You will never regret that. You will always regret not doing something. It's not what you do, it's what you don't do.
So Dominic, maybe you just recently had some tryouts in Europe, right? You went to Europe for 6 weeks, you said?
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about that, about showing up in Europe and trying out for professional
sure.
soccer?
So I ended up talking with my cousin in Poland, and they sent one of the videos I'd made of myself to them, and they were able to get a connection with one of the clubs there. It was just a Division 3 club so far in Poland. And then they said, you know what, we like the video, why don't you come out and we'll have a look at you. And it was nice enough because I do have family in the same city there, and it was good to see them because I don't go to Poland that often, so it was kind of like a win-win situation for me. So when I did go over there, the toughest part is, like, I do know Polish fluently, but it's when you're over there, they use different slang and stuff, and they speak way quicker than I'm able to like comprehend sometimes. So being able to play over there and try to become friends with people in a different language, as well as when you're playing, you want to communicate all the time, but maybe you're saying the wrong word here and there, or you're shy because it's new people and you have to use a different language. For me, that was the toughest part at first, but it's something I was able to, I guess, overcome. I knew I'm there already, might as well make the most of it. So I just decided to keep talking as much as I can and learn the language a little better. And I did have a really positive tryout, and then I wanted to look at higher divisions. So I was able to have contact with another coach, and this is the way professional sports works. I was supposed to start trying out with one of the top teams in Poland on the Monday, but the team lost their 6th game in a row on that Saturday, and the whole coaching staff got fired, and there goes all my connections, and I couldn't have a tryout anymore on that Monday. So then it was things like that. It's professional sports. All your connections can just go out the window in one night. So it was tough, but it was also a good experience to go over there, play with people that you maybe never thought you'd be able to play with. There's players who I trained with who were in the highest division in Poland, highest divisions in Germany who were on this team. So it was a cool experience, and like the environment and stuff, like the grass is different, like it was so soft, they were kind of muddy in a sense that the ball is just popping up. It's like different skills you had to have when you're overseas, but I just thought it was a pretty wicked experience.
How did you think you fit in as far as your quality compared to theirs?
I thought I was in the top end of the team. It was a lower division in Poland, but there were players who were playing at the highest division at one point. I thought I still stood out quite a bit, so that was a benefit. That's why I wanted to look to higher teams, but it's also different. They're over there in Poland, everyone is so aggressive, and it's just everybody just swears at each other and stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just the way they play overseas. It's very aggressive, and challenges are flying, and people are always tackling each other. Rather here, we're kind of pretty, I don't know, soft in a sense, too nice that we just like, if there's a challenge, we pick them up right away rather than one guy comes in and slide tackles me and then cusses me out after. Like, they're just, it's pretty aggressive over there. So after the first 2 days where I thought I was struggling a bit because I had to get used to the environment. But once I knew that's the way I have to fit in, I have to kind of change my methods in a sense to be able to be more aggressive. That helped me stand out because then players, I guess, respected me a little more because I was also a Canadian player coming onto their turf, maybe trying to take someone else's position over. So they're battling hard with me, and I just thought the biggest thing I had to do was try to stand out so they respect me versus hate me.
I just wanted to ask you that question because I think a lot of players, especially coming from Canada, we think, oh, we're not good enough, like we can't compete at that level. But as soon as you get there, I think you realize that, hey, I am good enough to play pro.
Please excuse the interruption. Sydney Poirier, if you are in the building, please come to the office for a message. Sydney Poirier, to the office for a message.
And I always say, being a professional doesn't mean you're playing for Manchester United. You could be playing the second division in Poland. You're still getting paid to play the game you love, okay? So if you are a top-level player, or maybe you're not right now, but you have the ability to be a top-level player in Calgary, you're one of the best players in Calgary, you can be a professional somewhere in the world as long as you do what he did and go after it. His connection came from his family, right? Okay, but if he didn't say, hey, I want to come and let's try to make something happen, then it never would have happened. And he's just getting started, right?
That's just getting started.
What city was it?
In Poland?
Yeah.
He's Polish.
Oh, are you? Oh, decent.
Nicholas Korchevsky.
Oh, there you go. The place I was at, well, I also went to another trial when I was there as well to this other club, but it was more of I went for a trial to get an agent as well to help me out. So then at these trials, it was kind of in a sketchy area. It was in the woods and stuff. It was called Barbica. It was Barbica. So it's in the north end of Poland, but it was Poland is a way different lifestyle than it is here. I was living with my cousin, and their house is probably smaller than this whole room, and there's 5 of us living in it, and there's 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, bathroom, and stuff. So everybody lives in big apartment buildings. So everything is so small and tight. It was something that I was also a challenge to be able to live like that versus in my house. I have all the space to myself. But and the other the main city I was in was Gyeonggi. Have you heard of that? That's when I was playing there for a bit, and then I went. The main club I was with is called Polkowice.
No, my parents are in Warsaw and Przemysl, I think.
Okay.
I
Warsaw was the big city. I was going trying to hit up the little cities out there, see if I could move my way up to the big cities. But the club I was supposed to be with and all the coaching staff got fired. They're called Zagłębie Lubin. So
my cousin went to a game from there. I'm not 100% sure what the name was, but it was in Warsaw. It was La Liga or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a top team. They're always finishing top 3 in Poland.
Yeah, and then he showed me a video of the thing, and it's all really intense. Everyone's swearing at each other and everything. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy down in Poland.
Fans, yeah.
It's pretty outrageous. Oh yeah, the fans it's just way different lifestyle. If you just go to the CFL games here, sometimes it could get a little hectic, pretty rowdy. But when you're over there, the fans, if that's your hometown, all the fans are coming out. They live for soccer over there overseas. So every game is insane. And if you're on having home advantage overseas is massive because all the fans kind of get on the players. They try to throw the other team, they try to throw them off their game because they want their team to win. It's almost like a religion, soccer in Poland. So everything is absolutely insane. But I see what you mean. I'm sure in Warsaw is pretty crazy.
All right, Kieran, maybe last question.
When you guys were growing up from the youth age to professional or university, how did your lifestyle change and how did the practices become more of a demand?
Lifestyle, I think your lifestyle can be the same at that age if you have that mentality. And if you want to be a pro, it should be. But when you're 14 years old, and whether it's soccer or it's swimming or it's any sport, you think you'll just you're good enough based on your natural talent, so you'll make it. but that's not how it works. We were talking before, he was asking how he improved, and it's like his obsession. He would come home and he would think about, okay, what can I do to make myself a better athlete, or what can I do to improve on my weaknesses? So your lifestyle, for me, my lifestyle is I've just become more and more educated. Like I'm into nutrition, I'm into sleep. So it's like the food I put in my body, at what time, how much sleep do I get, how can I make my sleep quality better, how many times a day am I training, so training multiple times a day, not just with your team. And that doesn't mean that you're destroying your body, pushing yourself to 100% every time, but it means you're doing all these different things, working on your mobility, your strength, your stamina, your recovery. So it's all these different things. So I would say, just for myself, it's become like an obsession because it is my business, because it is my life, but it's what I do every day. So how I eat, how I train, how I sleep, how I recover after training sessions to make sure that I can train the next day. Does that help?
For myself, like the lifestyle I had, I kind of wanted to keep it the same. I thought I still want to spend time with my friends. I still want to spend time with my family. But even though I really want to become the best I can at soccer, I still have to devote some time there. You can't lose the picture of what's important out there. So spending still quality time with your friends and family is still massive. So even though it is an obsession, you want to become the best at whatever you want to do. If it's for us soccer, like I always wanted to go outside and keep playing. I knew there's times I needed to just give myself a break to be able to just have quality time, have some laughs with friends, and be able to have a positive attitude all the time versus just grilling yourself at like, oh, you have to be better, having just that time to relax and be able to just spend good time with friends, keeping that lifestyle just kind of like calm is also pretty beneficial.
And in reality, that will make you better. It's about balance. For myself, I actually became more interested in self-development, so like life development, before I did actual soccer development, like breaking down every little piece of soccer. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I improve my health? How can I make my body look better? How can I have better communication skills? How can I get better grades in school? How can I make more money for myself? And then, like he's saying, you need the balance. If you're just constantly soccer, eventually you're going to burn out and you're going to hate soccer. Okay, but so yes, as long as you did something today to improve yourself, then you can hang out with your friends, you can play a little bit of video games, you can do the things that help you relax without any guilt. But if you're just doing constantly that, and none of this self-progression, whether that's in the different areas of your life or just soccer, then you're going to feel guilty, and you should feel guilty because you're wasting a day. Then when you go to like college, your lifestyle changes as far as you're living on your own. I would encourage anyone, if you have the opportunity, go away from your parents. Go live on your own, become a man, become a woman, take care of yourself, how you cook your meals, you do your laundry, you have to go to your classes, you have to get good grades so you don't get kicked out of school, all these different things, and then you're putting your soccer training on top of that. Like the first season is usually the first couple semesters, or first couple months of school, right? So that's pretty hectic, you know? You're training every day, you're traveling on weekends, but yet you still have to go to class, you still have to study for your exams. So it requires discipline, but if you just sit down with a pen and paper and you manage your time properly and it's important to you, then you can make it happen. And one final thing I'll say about that is, like, I'm all about soccer development, but I tell everyone, like, hey, if you're going to be a superstar soccer player, why are you not going to be a superstar athlete? Or academic, a superstar student, you know what I mean? Like, it's not okay to have your grades down here and your game up here, or your communication skills, like you can't talk to people, but you're really good at soccer, or you haven't done anything to bring your finances up. I know you guys are pretty young, but it's never too young to start. So just think about, for myself, it's like, how can I make the best day for myself? So you're in control of your day, what you do with every second of your day, you know what I mean? Like, you train a bit, you come to school, you go home, you do your homework. Okay, what else do you have to fit in there? Is it spending time with your friends? Is it spending time with your family, making your parents happy, doing chores, working a job, making money? Okay, you can do all these things, and you should do all these things, and you should do them well. It's people who are like, oh, I want to be a pro soccer player, so I'm just going to let all this stuff just go to waste. And in the end, this stuff comes back to haunt them. Okay, so it's about total life balance. I hope that helps.
All right. maybe we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, guys. All right, good. I can see you, Michael. Barely. Here we go. One more.